All right. So we're going to jump right in. Fostering cross-functional collaboration is difficult on many dimensions, from finding effective ways to working together and defining new processes, to understanding new challenges and constraints. Working with different teams, stakeholders, and departments has its obstacles, and we've all experienced that at different capacities. Now, these obstacles get more and more nuanced and more complex once we start looking at varying team sizes, different organizational structures, and even the actual product or service being designed. Well, today, our speakers will be touching on their experiences with this. For our first talk, titled Shaping Vision, Connecting the Digital and the Physical at Uber, I'd like to introduce two very special guests. We have Donna Bright, formerly a design manager at Uber. Originally from Israel, she started her career in web design, switching to gaming, then found her focus in interaction and product design. Her passion lies where technology and design meet to improve people's lives and designing end-to-end from the physical to the digital. Our second speaker for this session is Danielle Lindsay, whose career has taken a meandering path across traditional mediums, digital platforms, and even built environments. This diverse experience is the foundation of her current role at Uber, where she's focused on enhancing the end-to-end journey for riders and drivers through the design of physical interventions and touch points that create a positive brand impression. Let's show them some love and welcome them to the stage.
Okay, so hi everyone. We're here, as Manny said, to talk about how our team basically crafted the vision for the airport experience for riders and drivers or customers for Uber and connecting the digital and the physical. So this is Danielle. She's a super rock, a senior brand designer at Uber with more than 20 years of experience, and she's a mom of 3 dogs and 3 chickens.
And this is my colleague, Donna Bright. She's one of my favorite people, and I'm so honored to have worked with her at Uber. She previously was at Google, and she has 12 years of experience, and she also has 3 kids, 2 human children, and 1 non-human child. Before we start, though, we also want to thank Preet and the DesignX community for organizing this wonderful conference, as well as the sponsors. Thank you, everyone. And the attendees for being here. Thank you. Okay.
So really, before addressing any design problem, it's really important to start from the why, which was really important for our team to do. So we really wanted to make sure that before we look at the vision and what our team should do for solving for our customer needs, we understand those customer needs. So what our team did is we actually did a foundational research trip in 3 cities. So Uber operates at more than 600 airports around the world, and it was really important for us to understand those customer needs, our riders, our drivers, our operations, and airport official needs across those key markets. So we basically went to Mexico City, to Amsterdam, and to LA, our top 3 airports, and did different activities to really understand those customer needs. Things from intercepts, so chasing after tired riders after their flights and get them to talk to us, home interviews, ride-alongs, talking to drivers at a waiting lot where they're waiting to get a ride, and also shared activities with our drivers, so roundtable activities where they basically ideated with us what's their ideal experience, and of course interviewing our operations and airport team. And once we get this deck to work, we can actually show you a short video from the learning from that trip. Another really important thing to add here is one really key aspect to planning for this trip was making sure that our partners are there with us. They're learning with us. They're talking to our customers with us. So we made sure we had our leaders for engineering, product, and operations taking the research trip with us, and interviewing our customers, as well as synthesizing post that research trip. So we're all aligned on the problem we're solving for.
Minor technical difficulty.
What's a keynote without?
Just talk about the next slide.
Okay, perfect.
Here's good?
Yeah. So we'll go straight to the video, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
so here we are, just arrived in Amsterdam, oh so excited, didn't sleep all the way, but now we want to get from here to the bed. Okay, sweetie, or all you sweeties. Okay, honey, and here we are, there's the taxi. They said the bus is down this way. There's nothing that's saying Uber here.
I think it's at the parking area. That's my guess.
What do you expect to see?
Like the names,
Okay.
perhaps. Bueno? Hola? I always try to see where I'm at the moment I ask for the number. So in this case, I got lost and I accidentally hit request.
That's when you're really tired coming back from a flight. The last thing you want to do is not find you to drive.
So much going on in the airport, like people moving from here to there. You just want to get out of there, you just want to make it to the hotel. So I almost never see any signs. You know, I just want to go straight to something that will pick me up and meet me there. I figured out that like this is around 20-25 minutes. And I look at the time a little bit long I wait. So if I see like 40 cars, it's like no 40 minutes. I'm not gonna wait that long, and I drive back.
If the hub tell me I need to go because my rider is not there, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna circle around and go back again there. So it's gonna waste a lot of time.
Almost there, you cancel. I get no compensation for that entire
I think
time.
it just needs to, like, my question is, because the rider, I think, gets charged $5,
What
right?
if they don't want
So
that?
no offense, in my opinion, not to be greedy, but I don't think Uber should take a chunk of that $5 because they didn't lose any money.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw kind of a snippet of everything we learned in that trip. Actually, that rider that we were chasing after, he was waiting for 10 minutes in the wrong place, which is, again, some of the things we saw happening. So as we said, we actually talked to our 3 customer segments, our rider, our driver, operation, and ops, and we synthesize all those learnings together with our partners, so we're all aligned on those top high needs. And we really made sure as we synthesize them that we're thinking of those needs as timeless. So those are customer needs that will be true in 3 years from today as they are true today. So we can really build a vision towards those needs. Even if we don't have the tech right now to, for example, solve something at scale, how can we start working towards it in the short term? And then what's our vision for the longer term? And so for the rider needs, we identify 6 needs. I want to minimize walking and waiting. I want to know I'm getting consistently low prices. I want to know I'll have a ride when I need it. I want help choosing the best ride for me. I want to easily locate my ride, and I want to feel safe. And we're going to walk you through today and how the team solved for 3 of those needs, even though, again, we did a lot more projects. So as we said, we really started from the why, so understanding the problem we're solving for, but then moving from the why to the what. How can we solve for those needs? It was also, again, important that we work with our partners. So next slide, please. We basically organize a vision sprint with our operations, engineer, product, and of course design and research, and making sure all our teams together ideate with us. So instead of design and research going to a cave and kind of solving it on their own, no, that's really not the way our team worked. Is really bringing our partners together and making sure we have that diversity of experience and opinions in thinking how to ideate for the needs. If some of you have tried, it's sometimes hard to get some of our partners to sketch ideas, but we were creative about it. So for example, if you do a storyboard, maybe you just write in words what's happening. Our operation team have so much experience in working on the ground and seeing the true problems in different markets. So some of the most valuable concepts and solutions actually came from that team. And so after we had the different concepts and how to solve for those needs, we basically mapped them, impact versus effort, and did a voting exercise to vote for the top projects we will actually get to build in that year.
So how we did it. So once we had prioritized the 10 to 12 projects for the year, now is the time to make them a reality and dive into the details. So given the very cross-functional nature of these projects, we needed to establish guiding principles so that everyone is starting from a common foundation. So those 3 guiding principles are think end-to-end, communication, and scalable framework. Think end-to-end. So for many tech companies, the digital experience is the product, but Uber's technology serves a different function, and that's the movement of people and things in the physical world. So when we think about the airport journey, we need to go beyond the app and think about the actions and decisions that a user might make, both in the digital and the physical world, and also consider what happens before, during, and after that journey. So in the slide, we're just really showing that sort of linear schematic, and then looking at the physical touch points that a user might encounter during that airport experience. The second guiding principle was communication. So on these projects, we need to bring together diverse perspectives. So that means not only engineering and product, but also operations, design experience, and design platform. We also include people from a variety of different offices and different roles as well. So it's important to note that Uber's platform also serves a dual audience. So that's riders and drivers. So there's many dots to connect along the way. And because of this, we need a communication framework so that everyone is aligned on the common and shared goals and has an understanding of what's going on. So how we do this is through weekly meetings to track progress, design sprints, and brainstorm sessions, and a collaborative design process using Figma. And they did not pay us to say that. We love Figma, so. And then the third guiding principle was a scalable framework. So as Donna mentioned, Uber operates at 600 global airports, so everything we do needs to be flexible and adaptable at scale. A big part of this is having a robust visual design system. When we rebranded last year, we were very conscientious about building mobility into everything that we do. This means that every element is inspired by transportation and accessibility. So we retained, black and white as our core brand colors, which lends to optimal color contrast. And we introduced sort of this supporting color palette, including this color blue that we use selectively to emphasize safety and moments of care. And just want to mention, airports are like microcosms of cities in terms of complexity and regulation. So we're continuously, testing our brands against the constraints of those environments.
So as we said, we're going to focus on 3 of the rider needs that our team solved for in 2019. I want to minimize walking and waiting, I want to easily locate my ride, and I want to know I'll have a ride when I need it. So let's start with David. He's a rider in LA, and he was telling us if I was still waiting or it would take 7 to 10 minutes, I wouldn't take an Uber, I'd take a cab. We heard this 10-minute limit over and over and over again, no matter in which market. And not only that, from our logs from the data science team, we saw that there was a clear correlation of any additional minute beyond that 10 minutes. We saw the chart just go like this with every additional minute, there was just much greater chance of someone canceling the ride. So we call this need, I want to minimize walking and waiting. So before we actually go into the specific solution, please raise your hand if you ever took an Uber from the airport. Okay. So many of you have, and we know that it's been not such a great experience for some of the time, right? Uber's premise is this magical experience of tap a button, get a ride in the city, but it's not really happening at the airport as much. You have all these drivers, sometimes in very similar cars, and you're trying to find a specific car with a specific license plate, which makes it so much more complicated for both the rider and driver, and we see drivers frustrated as well, like that driver that you saw stomping their feet. And so what the team really wanted to do is bring that magic of the Uber ride at the city back to the airport. So we call it zero wait pickup. And the premise was we'll actually have the driver staged right there at the curb. So you still have that magic of tap a button, but you get a code and you just walk up to the first available driver. So it really reduces that whole one-to-one connection that was creating so much inefficiency in the process. And we, again, brought a design sprint of our partners from operation, engineering, product to really think, how do we do it in 3 years from today with, as little man resources on the ground as possible and a solution that can still scale for all airports, but also what we can do as our MVP. How can we ship something out there in a quarter that can really test this idea and make it a reality? The other thing, as we mentioned, is we had to solve for, we had 3 different designers, one working on the driver flows, one working on the rider flows, and one working on the physical space, and really making sure we connect the dots and how these 3 experiences are working together.
So our aim is always to provide a seamless experience, but as you know, it's often in the seams where the most compelling challenges exist. And this is particularly true, as you saw in the video, for the arrivals experience. Travelers are tired, they're stressed out, they're anxious, and they just want to get to where they need to go. And also, they're carrying a lot of stuff. They have children, they have emotional support animals, they've got bags. So, if you think of the ergonomics of, holding your phone and trying to navigate, we can't rely on the app to do everything. So what we try to do here is to extend what users might see and experience in the app and bring that into the physical world. And these low-tech touch points provide a lot of value in terms of surfacing information where people might need it and where it might be relevant. So helping these kind of touch points help educate riders and drivers. It helps to contribute to a safe curb experience while managing crowds in that space. And just want to point out that one of the most important elements of these environments is actually having a human presence. So a helpful and friendly in-person interaction is invaluable brand building moments. And so this experience is live at 5 airports with promising results. We've seen increased completed trips, significant decrease in average wait time, increased driver and rider satisfaction, including some positive tweets. Again, we did not solicit this in any way. It's actually real.
So here's for our next use case, our next need. We have Dennis. He's a rider in Amsterdam, and he's standing here right across from the pickup, and he can't see where the pickup is. He was saying, I just don't understand where the pickup is. One of the challenges for Uber is that the pickup experience is different in each and every airport, sometimes different between product types. You can have Uber Black here, Uber Pool there, and maybe even Uber X in a third place. Not to mention that sometimes the airports will just move the location maybe twice in 1 month. So it was clear that riders were anxious. They really wanted to understand where that pickup is, and we needed to assist them. So we call this need, I want to easily locate my ride. But the reason there's an asterisk here, it's not really just locate my ride. Wayfinding is such a broad human need across the Uber ecosystem. So we identify that our riders need help with finding the drivers. Our drivers need help with finding the riders. Our Uber Eats carriers need help with finding where the packages that they're trying to deliver to their customers, or our riders need help with finding the Uber Pool or the Uber Shuttle pickups. So as we were ideating for this, we basically did a design sprint where we brought people in from across the company, not just the airports team, but people from our jump teams, so that we can help riders find the scooters and bikes, people from the Uber Shuttle and Uber Pool rides, and of course Uber Eats. So basically all the different teams that actually need this wayfinding solution. So we can think of a solution that both work for airports, but really can work as a framework across Uber. The other thing we did is we ideated for these concepts is we had the designers really work through 3 lenses. So we wanted that the solution would not only be limited to one format. One was in-app in a digital space. Another was in-app, but it really needed to scale for nowhere to low connectivity. So really work in developing markets at airports where we know connectivity is a problem. And the third is, of course, the physical space. So from our research, we saw that some riders will get to the airport, for example, or other places will open the app the first thing they do to try to understand where the pickup was. But others were actually looking at the signage first. They were too anxious to even open the app. They first wanted to know they're in the right place before they can actually request a ride, and we wanted to make sure we really solve end-to-end throughout those problems. The last thing I would say is that we actually had engineers take part in this design sprint, and we created real active prototypes that we then tested in guerrilla testing. So we set up shop, and our team had donuts and got people from the company to try out these prototypes to see what was the most promising one. Here you can see an example of our in-app digital experience that's rolling out right now. And you can see that it was really important for us, again, to solve end-to-end. So think about the request flow, and throughout the request flow, what can the rider see from the moment they open the app to all the way when they're actually waiting for their Uber, in a way that's not deterring them from the main action they're trying to do, which is, of course, to request a ride, but still give them just the right amount of information of where the nearest pickup is. As well as just really looking at progressive disclosure, right? Not showing too much information right away.
So while we have enhanced wayfinding in the app, we need to think about the many ways that people will access and use information in the physical world. So the pickup experience is different at every single airport. So we need to consider a wide variety of conditions to design for. So here's where our brand system is really tested and sometimes broken. The challenge here is that we need to fit in, but at the same time stand out. And this results in a lot of in-situ testing, where we try to find that right balance between being very visible, but at the same time being very legible. Meaning, we have to consider color contrast, in very low light conditions, like parking garages, making sure that the text is readable at the right height, the location and viewing angle of these placements, to make sure they all adhere to our accessibility principles. So we developed this design system that we called waytizing. And this is because we have to purchase the advertising space at airports, but we use it to provide wayfinding information instead of traditional campaign-based work. Again, this has to scale globally, meaning it has to be simple enough that our regional marketing teams and operations teams can implement this and result in a fairly consistent result. But here we have a hierarchy of information using tone of voice to communicate a landmark, so people can start to build a mental map as they navigate the airport. And we layer information, using this sort of secondary, more granular wayfinding verbiage. We use blue to differentiate the information from other advertising. And our value proposition is really, very simply to guide our users to the pickup location. Also, we developed this system. As we developed the system, we came across, unique applications that are not really aligned with our brand guidelines. For example, airports, as Donna mentioned, will often place our economy rides in parking garages. And those spaces are hard to get to, and once you're there, they're dark, they're cold, they're not very intuitive, and this places a very heavy cognitive load on wary travelers. So here we adapted our design, as this modular floor graphic. So as soon as you reach the parking garage, you have a guided system to get you from that threshold directly to the pickup location. And I just want to point out, if there's any print designers in this room, that I have total respect for you, because getting that color blue, in a consistent way I don't know if we just chose the most brutal Pantone ever, but it's a consistent challenge everywhere. But here you can see how this, is kind of like a kit of parts, and it flexes to different applications. So whether it's on the floor or it's on a baggage carousel, it's purposefully functional to suit the unique needs of airports. So the results of this endeavor, we got a little plug from Adweek. A high percentage of satisfied users, a significant increase in satisfaction with ease of finding the pickup location after deboarding the plane, significant recall and brand awareness, and the initial results show increase in trips, so it's working.
So to our last example of this talk, so we have Natasha. She's a writer in Amsterdam, and she was telling us she took a train from the airport in South Korea because she didn't have internet. She assumed Uber didn't work there. So just to actually emphasize, Uber likes transit, and we're working very actively on adding transit as an option in many cities, everywhere we can, really, and it's rolled out already in I think at least 5 to 10 cities around the world now. Really thinking through the other need we talked about is help me find the best ride for me, right? In Natasha's case, however, she had kids with her and she had a lot of luggage. If she had known Uber was an option, she would still choose that over the train. And so we were trying to understand what are the reasons that people wouldn't take Uber at the airport, what are the biggest barriers, and how can we help them? So we call this need, I want to know I'll have a ride when I need it. Two are the biggest challenges we saw also from talking to more older population at the airport. They were telling us things like, my son told me there's this Uber thing, but I don't know what to do. Do I download it? I don't know what to do. And so we saw two big barriers were downloading the app and connectivity. So when a rider goes to a new country, they don't have connectivity, they also can't use the app. So the solution, one of the solutions the team came up with here was an airport kiosk. And the thinking was that this can help riders basically book their Uber ride without connectivity and without the app installed. And it's such a familiar mental model at airports, including for older population. People are used to checking in with airport kiosks and, of course, purchasing transit tickets. So the way the team approached it is in a really scrappy way. On the left, you can see starting with building this kiosk version from foam boards. Our designer created a booking experience on the tablet with the Framer app, which we then placed inside this kiosk and got the team to interact with and really understand how can this feel as simple as possible so you can just get the Uber ride with just a few taps. We then learned that there is actually an existing hardware we can use, because another team had already in progress a hardware solution for a very different reason, video conferencing support for drivers in our support centers. Again, it wasn't necessarily the best hardware we would have thought of because it had 2 screens, but it was great for us to go with that solution so we can put something out there and really experiment fast and see the results and the feedback. So we worked closely with that team to try to make sure that we address this challenge of 2 screens and how do we make sure that top monitor isn't tappable and basically the bottom monitor was where you would book the ride, as well as with our brand team to really work from those rider needs on the value proposition of the kiosk, the messaging, how do we communicate what the kiosk does and the value proposition that it serves. And lastly, another shout out to Figma. So we had 3 different teams collaborating on this experience in an ever-changing environment where we changed the flow sometimes because of usability feedback, legal feedback, and of course the airport's regulation themselves. And you need to make sure we're always coordinating and working from one source of truth.
So as Donna mentioned, the kiosk was actually previously designed for a different purpose. So there's kind of like this awkward, 2-screen interaction that we had to work with to launch this quickly. Jared Spool might not agree with that approach, but we did it anyways. But we launched this at Toronto Airport last August. So you can see that there's a lower touch tablet, and this is used for user input and controls and payment processing. And then we have this sort of like a larger display that employs motion graphics for attract mode, as well as supporting the user during the booking flow. To show here's the full motion sequence. So you can see how we adapted our communications to suit the strict bilingual requirements from Toronto Pearson Airport. And we worked cross-functionally with our copywriting and motion teams to create content that has 2 specific functions. So there's the attract mode, as I mentioned, which communicates key value propositions with regards to not having an app, no connectivity, and safety. And the support mode, which encourages the rider during the process and it gives them the confidence to follow through. So here you can see the progress bar. It's actually a lot longer than I remember.
We can also mention a big part here was you can just pay with a credit card and swipe it. So again, really accommodating our new riders.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's close there. So the results of this endeavor, we had a high percentage of satisfied users, a high percentage of riders over 45, which was our key demographic market, and first-time riders, as well as an increase in airport trips.
So overall, the airport business grew significantly in 2019 thanks to our team's work. Again, more than just these 3 projects we showcased, we had different experiences created to solve for our riders, our driver operation, and airport officials. What really gave us the most satisfaction is seeing the happy riders and drivers and people that maybe otherwise wouldn't have taken an Uber without these new experiences, like the gentleman here on the right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here our Twitter content if you want to stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Danielle and Donna. That was very insightful.